One of my own interests is creative nonfiction. And I tell that to people and they say, isn't that an oxymoron? No, it's writing that is fact-based, it's true writing, but it has the literary qualities of the best fiction. Typically, it's writing in which there's a strong emphasis on the narrator or the person. It's first person, and it's also generally very strongly narrative. Memoirs, personal essays, literary journalism. So when John McPhee decides that he's going to go to Alaska and canoe on the Yukon River and write about what he sees along the way, great creative nonfiction. I've been very interested in how people over the past few centuries have written things that have been located in their own experiences, what they've seen, what they've done, and not make it just self-centered. How to make it an artifact that other people want to read about. Just briefly, last month we had the writer Ted Conover on campus, and I know Ted. Ted has gotten a job, for example, as a prison guard in Sing Sing. So he could immerse himself in that situation, and then he writes about what prison life is like from the vantage point of being an insider. Now, you could write about prison life in all sorts of ways, but immersing yourself there, telling a story, realizing you're writing something that people don't have to read, but you have to entice them to want to read it, that I think is the trick. Now, in terms of what place these genres might have in the curriculum, it's interesting that the Common Core Standards themselves name creative nonfiction as one of their genres. Now, they tend to be sort of like the Federalist Papers or, things that are part of standard American literature classes that are nonfiction, founding documents, and so on. Benjamin Franklin's autobiography, any number of those things. But I like to think, no, you've left an opening for Joan Didion in the White Album, or you've left an opening for any number of writers. E.B. White, writing about life on a saltwater farm, in Maine at the same time he's writing Charlotte's Web. I think the attractions of creative nonfiction are that it gives students an angle into the content. So again, picking on Ted Conover. Ted wrote a great piece in Harper's Magazine where he worked in a slaughterhouse in Nebraska for 6 months as a meat inspector. Now, you can tell people about how meat is slaughtered and so on, and if you want to cast it as a bad or a good thing, you can do that. But he puts himself there, and so you're getting the story of what it's like to be there, and I think a reader can identify that. It makes information always located in relation to an observer. And I think that's very powerful for students, that there was somebody who saw this, who thought about it, who interpreted it, and who shared it, rather than these are disembodied facts that exist in the world. So I see creative nonfiction as a very powerful way of conveying ideas and information, and also a sort of tempting genre to have students to write as well, that their lives have things happening or that they can pay attention to the world in a way. And what is it that you saw on television last night that made you think these ideas, and how can you convey them to a reader who doesn't even know that they're interested in that, but once you tell them, they might be.